Okay, before we have a heavy talk about the Constitution and the country and the courts and deportation and all that terrible stuff, which we'll get to in just a moment, I want to get to this, which is more terrible, obviously, honoring the fallen. We lost a couple Marines in training last week. Well, not training. They were on the southern border. Okay, so they're down there for a reason. It was a non-combat thing. It happens. Vehicles crash. This was a vehicle accident. It's as common as anything. It happens. And in ancient times, men died falling off their horses. Okay, sucks, but it happened, and they died serving their country. Lance Corporal Albert Aguilera, who's 22 years old, and Lance Corporal Marcelino Gamino, he was 28 years old. Semper Fi, young brothers, they gave their lives for this country. Honor their sacrifice as we do here on the 1st. All right? Okay. Now, let's talk about the courts, the Trump administration, you and me. Let's talk about the United States of America. And this is going to come back to the Supreme Court. Just let's give away the end of it here. In case you weren't paying attention, most everybody was. Over the weekend, the Supreme Court decided that the Trump administration cannot use the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to deport members of Tren de Aragua, a prison gang. Now, I should be perfectly clear about this. It was a temporary thing. The Supreme Court says, hey, you're not allowed to deport them anymore. We have to wait on this court and that court. We'll wait on a couple things. But at least for now, you're not going to do it. We have to slow down and make sure we're doing this the right way. Okay, so that is actually what I wanted to talk to you about. And I am perfectly aware that what I'm about to say is going to chafe on many people. You may get angry, you may turn off the television, you may send me hate mail, and all that stuff is fine. It doesn't change anything about what I'm going to say. So here's what it is. First, I want you to picture this. I want you to picture that you are playing Monopoly, game of Monopoly, against somebody you don't like at all. Picture the person who's the person you hate the most. Just you and them, you're playing a game of Monopoly, okay? And in Monopoly, as you are well aware, even if you've never played it yourself, there are rules, of course. There's dice. You have to roll the die. There are different cards. You want to try to land on this property. There are little cards at random that you get. Hey, you get $500. Hey, you owe $500. Just random things like that. I am going to administer the rules of the game. There are rules of the game. I'm going to oversee the game and administer the rules of the game. Now, let's say the person you're playing against decides they don't have any need for these rules. No need for these rules at all. So when it's time for them to cast a die, instead of using the game's die, they simply grab the loaded die that they brought along that rolls whatever number they want. Now, this would be the point where you would think I, the administrator of the rules, would step in and say, no, but I'd let them go. No, use your own die. It's all good there. When they get a chance card or something they don't like, pay 10% in taxes, don't like that. They just put it back and keep fishing till they get a card they want. Me, I'm sitting there overseeing the whole thing. No, it's fine. Do whatever you want. That's what I do when it's their turn. But then, when your turn comes along, you're going to use the dice I give you, the dice of the game. No, don't think you're going to switch out that chance card. Nope. You do the game the right way. You follow the rules. I am the administrator, and you will follow the rules. Let me ask you something. Who's going to win that game? You. It's inevitable. The game cannot be won by you. It's not humanly possible. Especially when the administrator is very clearly in on allowing them to do the most evil things in the world, and you have to follow the rules. Now, let's talk about the country, the courts, immigration, the Constitution. Let's chat, shall we? One, let me go ahead and get this out of the way right off the bat, and I want to make sure I'm crystal clear about this. Where we are as a country, it saddens me a great deal. What I'm about to talk about, I don't celebrate. I'm not cheering it on. I'm not, I think what I'm about to talk about, what I'm about to say is the most awful thing in the world. Because I want the United States of America to stay together, to be a good, wonderful country that exists for my kids and their kids and their kids after them. That's my desire. But here's where we are as a country. The American left hates the United States of America. It sucks, but that's where we are. Half the country hates the country. And because they hate the country, when they are elected, when they get power, you saw this for 4 years under Joe Biden, a part of hating the country means they will ignore every law, they will ignore every rule, they will simply set these things aside, and they will bring in as many barbarians, as many foreigners as they can possibly bring in the time they have. They won't just open up the doors at the border. They will fly them in as fast as they can. They will take large chunks of your money and they'll send planes to other countries and load those planes full of illegals and fly them into your town. That is how committed the communists are to destroying the United States of America. And while Joe Biden did that, while Biden and the Maoists in his government did that, no court stopped them. They were never stopped. Nothing was treated as an emergency. There were no brakes on it at all. And there were all kinds of violations of the law and the rules and norms. They just kept going. Nothing stopped them. Over and over. Remember one morning? Do you remember the Haitians? Remember the Haitians? One morning we woke up and there were 14,000 freaking Haitians on the southern border. And we're looking around, wait, what? And then we started to get a little suspicious because it was a day or two. And the administration, do you remember the administration kept trying to stop news coverage of it? Hey, don't show those people on camera. I believe it was 3 days. Might be wrong about that, but I believe it was 3 days. We woke up and they were gone in one night. The Biden administration waited until everyone was asleep and the sun dipped down, and the Biden administration took 14,000 Haitians and brought every single one of them into your country. Maybe they're going to school with your children right now. Every rule, every norm, every law set aside, and the courts, including the Supreme one, sat back. It's all right. Well, maybe we'll get to that. Well, hold on just a moment. The rules of the game completely set aside, completely ignored. The administrators of the rules couldn't be bothered to step in. For 4 years, the mnemonic communists known as Democrats filled up your country with as many foreigners as humanly possible. Now, we have 4 years. And I want to be crystal clear about this. You cannot get them all out in 4 years, no matter what you do. It's not humanly possible. That many people spread out over a country this vast, they're so mixed into so many communities and ingrained here without any breaks, without any courts, without anything. The Trump administration cannot possibly remove 20 million people with the speed Joe Biden brought them in. That is with no courts, no obstructions at all. With no obstructions at all, we cannot fix what Democrats have broken in the last 4 years. That's with no obstructions. But instead, what we have now is we are well north of 100 days into the Trump presidency. We are roughly 1/8 done with the Trump presidency, and court after court after court after court after court, including the Supreme one, continues to throw up roadblocks every chance they get. Whoa, not quite yet. Hold on, you got to go through that. Hey, he deserves some due process. Whoa, hold on. That's got to go to the lower court with an injunction. So I understand there are all kinds of legal arguments. Or, well, you have to do things the right way and due process. And you know what? I'm not actually going to argue against you with any of those things. You can bring up the habeas corpus and all that. That's fine, but totally fine. I'm not a legal scholar. Do not pretend to be. But I am most definitely somebody who can see reality. And here is the reality. If the communists are allowed to import as many foreign barbarians into the country as they possibly can, and they will with their 4 years of power, and we are not allowed to deport them as quickly as they have imported, then the United States of America will end. The country is simply going to come apart and break apart in some way that's going to be terrible. We will break apart. We will end, most likely something god-awful like a civil war or some kind of horrible thing, but it will end, and it will end terribly, and that is a fact. I don't care about any of your other arguments. Well, what about the Constitution? What about the Fifth? I don't care what your arguments are. If we are not allowed to deport foreigners at the same pace they import foreigners, we're finished. It's over. Can't be won. Can't be done. And so my final message here as I wrap this up is actually not for you. It's for the Trump administration. And I'm assuming they know this, but maybe they don't. So here's the reality of it. I don't want a dictator. I want to be free. I want to live in a constitutional republic as a free man where I get a voice, I get a say. I do not want a dictator. I hope you don't either. We are going to get one. If the Trump administration is not willing to go far enough, ignore these courts, including the Supreme Court, and move forward with the mass deportation of barbarians, if the Trump administration is not allowed to implement the will of the voters, and we still see poll after poll after poll, the will of the voters remains with Trump and mass deportations. If the will of the voters is not allowed by the courts or this or that, then the right will choose a dictator very shortly in your lifetime, including in mine. If the Trump administration is given the mandate it was given, and for 4 years they are prevented from mass deportations, the next Republican nominee will be somebody who promises to throw journalists in prison. I'm not even close to kidding. That is how serious this situation is right now, and that is my fear. And I hope the Trump administration knows this. Ignore the Supreme Court. Anyone who tries to stop you, anyone, any entity, any human being, no matter their title, throw them in prison too. All that may have made you uncomfortable, but I am right. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.